These are tonight's top stories. ECCB building named in honor of Sir K. Dwight Venner. A transparent electoral system forms part of the government's good governance agenda. And Taiwan makes another donation to the security forces. The details on these stories and more after the break.
Can you afford to lose everything? In times of uncertainty, ensure you have the security of Quartz Payment Protection. When you shop with Quartz Ready Finance Gold or Ultimate Plan, if you lose your job after 6 months of making payments, our redundancy coverage ensures that the payment on your account continues for up to 12 months. Don't risk losing everything. Shop with Quartz Ready Finance and get the payment protection plan that protects you against redundancy, disability, death, and loss of item due to natural disaster, fire, flood, or theft. Quartz Ready Finance with payment protection. Quartz, bringing value home.
Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Berridge. A ceremony was held this morning to name a building at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in honor of former Governor, the late Sir K. Dwight Venner. Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Honorable Gaston Brown, and Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and Chairman of the ECCB Monetary Council, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, were among those who delivered remarks. It was revealed during the ceremony that Sir Dwight was aware of the naming of the building in his honor, and he was pleased by it. Sir K. Dwight Venner served as Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, from December 1989 to November 2015. He was the longest-serving Governor of the ECCB. Sir Dwight passed away on Thursday, 22nd December 2016 at the age of 70. He is survived by his wife, Lady Linda Venner, and their 7 children. Attorney General Honorable Vincent Byron Jr. says having a transparent electoral system in St. Kitts and Nevis forms part of the good governance agenda because without a free and fair system, there will not be a proper democracy. Speaking at the Good Governance and Accountability for Prosperity Town Hall meetings in Sadlers on Tuesday, the Attorney General said that for too long the Federation has experienced a problem in its electoral system and government will work to correct it.
We will go from every house to another house and take those who are 18 and over, those who are citizens of this country, those who are qualified to be registered to vote. We will register them where they live.
He stated that it is not a practice to deny people whose names are on voters' lists and who are qualified to vote their right to vote. He said, however, that too many persons throughout St. Kitts and Nevis are not properly registered. He further stated that for too long, also persons have been moving from St. Kitts to Nevis to register to vote where they don't live in an effort to interfere with and to fix the system on the sister island. He noted that such an issue would be rectified once the proper measures are put in place. The Republic of China Taiwan has once again contributed to safety and security in the Federation with a donation of spare parts for vehicles owned by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. In accepting the donation, Commissioner of Police Ian Quealy spoke of how the donation came about. He further thanked the Republic of China Taiwan for its continued support.
I'm delighted this afternoon to be in this position to once again say thanks to the people, the government and people of the Republic of China on Taiwan. Sometime around 2013, there was a need for increased mobility within the police department, and the ambassador was approached in terms of providing some vehicles. We were challenged as the vehicles worked and were in need of replacement parts. So once again, we approached our friends at the embassy who kindly consented.
Resident Ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan, His Excellency George Gowei Shu, said he was pleased to be able to assist as the country's safety and security is very important.
The purpose of transfer these car parts is to try to maintain the maximum availability of the police car, which transferred and donated by the Taiwan government 4 years ago. And we hope these vehicles can keep a very good availability, so the loyal St. Kitts and loyal police of the St. Kitts and Nevis, they can use these vehicles efficiently.
The handing over ceremony held at Hobson Enterprises was chaired by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Osmond Petty. It was also attended by members of the Police High Command, Force Finance Officer Isilma Carol Phipps Gilbert, and representatives of Hobson Enterprises. The cost for the parts, as revealed by Mr. Petty, is in excess of $60,000 US. The most recent formal meeting of Cabinet was chaired by Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. In a post-Cabinet briefing, Director General of the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, Lesroy Williams, outlined discussions held to address the protection of the Federation's borders and talks to revise immigration policy.
Cabinet considered a need for a revision of the immigration policy, having regard to a number of developments, including existing immigration laws, CARICOM and OECS treaty obligations, and the need to protect the Federation's borders to ensure that Kittitians and divisions are not disadvantaged in the field of work.
Cabinet also discussed the recently concluded Growth Forum hosted by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, on Wednesday, and looked forward to all delegations participating in the 64th meeting of the OECS Authority on Friday. Williams said members of the Cabinet anticipated that all high-level meetings being scheduled for this week would be productive and redound to the benefit of the citizens and residents of the sub-region. After the break, Osbert D'Souza says the reforming of PEP to STEP was necessary, and joint security forces seized 200 marijuana plants. Stay with us. Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Osbert D'Souza, says it was important for the government to reform the PEP into STEP. He said the government has been allocating a significant amount of money into the program with nothing to show for it. Speaking on this week's edition of Working for You, D'Souza, who is in charge of the STEP program, said the initial purpose of the PEP got lost along the way.
The country is fully aware, and I think we need to emphasize the point that when the PEP started, the intention was to have a mere 6 months of the program and then bring the program to an end. It seemed somewhere along the line to have been turned into some kind of political fiasco. This administration is trying its best to essentially move away from that.
He said the reformation will equip citizens to be better qualified for jobs that would otherwise be taken by non-nationals.
With the change of perception, the change of the name, the change in emphasis, is to provide a cadre of persons in this country who can take up some of the jobs that are going to become available on the peninsula.
Mr. D'Souza revealed that in 2015-2016, the PEP was costing the government an average of $1 million. During a routine security patrol in Old Road on Wednesday, members of the police force and defense force discovered what was described as a marijuana plantation within 10 to 20 meters of the residential area and less than 300 meters from the Old Road police station. Public Relations Officer for the St. Kitts and Nevis Defense Force, Captain Coyote Sutton, said that the security forces have observed that the criminals are changing their game, and so will the security forces.
What is significant to this find is that the plants were within 20 meters of some houses, where people live. So that tells us that the persons who engage in this kind of activities are no longer going way out in the hills. They've been getting bold now and planting within urban areas, within villages where people live. And that is significant to note. And what we're going to have to do now is intensify our urban operations to include, walking through villages and towns and so on.
Captain Sutton said that during their discovery of the marijuana plants, they were forced to take cover as they heard the sound of gunfire nearby.
When the soldiers stumbled upon this plantation, the individuals who were cultivating the marijuana, they were probably at a safe distance from the plantation, and they actually fired shots at soldiers. They took the opportunity to fire shots at soldiers, but of course the soldiers did not respond fire because it was within habitation. There are a lot of houses in the neighborhood, and good judgment had to prevail.
Sutton urged members of the public to report any such activity to the nearest police station, as this information can help to save lives.
I think that when persons see this kind of activities happening within the communities, it is incumbent upon them, and for their own safety as well, to report it to the police or to the defense force as quickly as possible, because the situation that was that took place this morning could have resulted in fatality of some innocent person if the soldiers were not prudent in their actions, like taking into consideration all the prevailing circumstances around the area. If they had returned fire, then some innocent person could have gotten killed. There
were approximately 200 marijuana plants discovered and uprooted. The street value is estimated to be approximately $86,400. The security forces are appealing to all citizens who may be inconvenienced during the execution of the series of operations to bear with the security forces as they engage in intensive targeted security operations. Coming up, Guyana's Teachers Union welcomes government announcement of duty-free concessions for teachers. The details when we come back. President of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, Cedric Morel, says employee engagement may be key to boosting productivity in the public sector.
It has been suggested that public sector managers work on improving employee engagement and morale. President of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, Cedric Morel, said this could help to boost the performance of the civil service. He was speaking on Monday at a symposium which formed part of the 14th Annual Week of Excellence.
It is well known that public sector reform initiatives were meant to motivate public officers and to bring about change to the workplace culture. The implementation of successful public sector reform requires that improvements are made at the level of governance and management. Let me say, though, that what is being advanced here this morning is nothing new. The challenge, though, has always been in the failure to implement these much-needed adjustments. Today, we in Barbados, like other countries around the world, are looking for ways to improve the overall performance of the public sector. We in the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados posit the view that a good starting point is to address the current human resources management practices and place greater emphasis on non-monetary incentives. The management of the public service ought to pay careful attention to employee satisfaction and morale, as these, apart from wages and salaries, are the most important drivers of performance.
The General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union welcomes the announcement for duty-free concessions for teachers. Hesmar.
After 9 years of waiting, teachers will now be given duty-free concessions owed to them during those years. And General Secretary of the Guyana Teachers Union, Coretta MacDonald, is elated at the news.
First, I should say that we're quite pleased that the issue of the duty-free has now been laid to rest, in the sense that the approval has been given by Minister Harmon. It has been a while, but we are happy that the approval has now been given, So GRA, they're now working with the instructions that was given to them. So the teachers are now going to be able to access their duty-free concessions. We're quite happy, not that teachers are getting their duty-free, but we're especially happy that those teachers, a list of 46 teachers who were waiting there since 2009, that those persons have actually gotten through now and they're going to be accessing their duty-free concession. Because in the agreement it talks about you being a head teacher for 3 years and you must have 5 years remaining. The list that we're supposed to be submitting for this year and the last year, they're on hold because we have not yet signed on to the agreement. So it means that as soon as that agreement is signed, we are going to have a list of 200 persons waiting to access their duty-free concessions because we are asking for 100. That is what has been the practice over the years. And I'm hoping that this process will run off very smoothly and we wouldn't have the kind of hiccups we would have had with those head teachers in the previous years.
Teachers for years complained about the treatment they receive from the government despite their importance as molders of the nation's children. Reporting for Capital News, Royston Driggs.
Coming up, Zimbabwe nurses join doctors' strike over unpaid bonuses. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Upfront. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is currently in plans for a big event in a few days, and with me is Pastor Carl Hastings of the SDA to tell us more about this big event. Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening.
So tell me about this big event. I understand it's going to be a very spiritual event. Tell me what's it all about.
That's right. It's the Signs of the Time evangelistic series, and this will be starting in Sadler's on the 5th of March and concluding on the 1st of April. During the different periods of Earth's history, God has always intervened to bring judgment. And at various times, and it is important for us to know, God never brings judgment without a warning. If we can take our mind back to the antediluvian world, when God was about to bring judgment, he sends Noah. And Noah preached for 120 years, but the people ignored the warning. And we are told only 8 persons were saved. Noah, the preacher, and his family. We can come a little back up to our times when we're talking about the Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah was known for sodomy, and God was not pleased. And God was about to bring judgment to Sodom and Gomorrah. And what he did, he sent an angel to warn the people. Instead of heeding the warning, they continued in their ways. And we're told as well, 4 persons were taken out, but save one, who looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. So only 3 persons were saved from an entire city. And so this is important. Why is this important, and why are we talking about the signs of the times at this junction period in Earth's history? It is important because the Bible gives us some signs, and Jesus says, when we see these signs happening, that we are to look up for our redemption draw nigh. Right now as we talk, the signs of the ends, they show us that the earth has reached the last days. Rebellion against God is all around us.
We were speaking earlier, and you mentioned that there are also certain signs in the way that governments are being run. Tell me about that.
Yes, governments are now permitting all sorts of immorality, including abortion, same-sex marriage, and if we can remember, one of the reasons why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed is because of same-sex and sodomy and these sorts of issues. And these are signs and pertinent signs to point us to that we are nearing the end of time. And if we as God's people are going to be saved, we have to check the signs. And the Bible tells us when we see these signs happening, look up for our redemption draw nigh. In this evangelistic series, we are just scratching the surface in the exciting adventure of drawing not only practical lessons, but spiritual lessons from the literal signs of the time to lead people into a transformational and personal relationship with God. It is important that we recognize today that we are nearing the end of time, and as a people, we have to start to look up because our redemption draw nigh.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time. Is there any final word you'd like to give to the audience?
Well, we just want to remind the St. Paul's and the surrounding communities that this evangelistic series, the Signs of the Times evangelistic series, starts on the 5th of March at the Sadler's playing field and starting from 7:15 p.m. nightly. Get ready. This is going to be something out of this world. It is the Signs of the Times evangelistic series, the Seventh-day Adventist Church featuring international and well-renowned evangelist Pastor Carl C. Hastings and District 2 Praise Team. Opening night's topic, remove the mask, let the truth be told. Remember, bring a friend and come with your questions because the Bible has the answer.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being with us, Pastor Hastings. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure speaking with you, too.
I've been speaking with Pastor Carl Hastings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, telling us about the Signs of the Times evangelistic series coming up in just a few days. Stay tuned. More news after this.
Can you afford to lose everything? In times of uncertainty, ensure you have the security of Quartz Payment Protection. When you shop with Quartz Ready Finance Gold or Ultimate Plan, if you lose your job after 6 months of making payments, our redundancy coverage ensures that the payment on your account continues for up to 12 months. Don't risk losing everything. Shop with Quartz Ready Finance and get the payment protection plan that protects you against redundancy, disability, death, and loss of item due to natural disaster, fire, flood, or theft. Quartz Ready Finance with payment protection. Quartz, bringing value home.
Health services in Zimbabwe are grinding to a halt after nurses joined a strike by doctors over unpaid bonuses. Army medical professionals have been called in but are struggling to deal with the number of patients. More in this report.
This is Parenyato Hospital, one of the biggest state-run hospitals in the country. It's normally busier than this, but for more than 2 weeks, doctors have been on strike, nurses have been on strike, midwives are still on strike. They're calling for better working conditions and more money. They say they can't survive on the salaries that they're earning.
I cannot afford to pay medical bills for myself. Like you see, the services that I provide, they are out of reach for me. If one of our junior doctors gets sick, usually we have to congregate as a group, make contributions in order to help.
We've managed to get inside some of the hospitals. It is fairly quiet. There are a few doctors working, a few nurses who are working, but the doctors are working seem to be the senior doctor, the senior nurses, and some army doctors have been called in. There's been a shortage of money for many years in the public health sector, and some drugs are running out. Patients are being turned away.
It's quite sad inside the hospitals in terms of patient care. There's only a few doctors who are working, and it's quite overwhelming given the fact that the doctors who are working are not quite accustomed to the duties they are carrying right now.
So while most health facilities have been brought to a standstill, President Robert Mugabe is in Singapore seeing his doctors, a move that has angered some Zimbabweans here.
To have our own president being the first person to leave the country to seek medical attention outside the country, it just shows that he himself has no confidence whatsoever in the country's health delivery system. But he expects the majority of the people who, as you know, 75% of the people of Zimbabwe are surviving on less than $2 per day, to go there in the public hospitals, in the public clinics where there are no medicines because of the shortage of foreign currency. But look, does he care? He doesn't.
Government officials saying to people, don't give up hope. They are in talks with the striking doctors, striking nurses, striking midwives, trying to convince them to come back to work. But all those people on strike say they aren't coming back to work until the government promises them they'll get more money and their working conditions will be improved.
While the world's attention is on fighting ISIL in Iraq, many young people are trying to break stereotypes and change the image of their country. Some in the northern Kurdish region say they are taking up projects and activities to bring positive change to their society. Here's more.
It's the day they get gifts, and children at this oncology ward are excited. Visa Barzo and her volunteer friends are making final preparations. This group of volunteers work at the cancer hospital. They bring gifts and provide support to patients, staff and doctors. Barzo and her friends have connected with many other like-minded youngsters who want to start a movement for better changes. They're part of a growing number of young Iraqi Kurdish women breaking boundaries by taking leading roles.
I know we cannot change this community, we cannot change the government, we cannot change everything. But just by going and putting a smile on somebody's face, just like contributing little by little, we feel like we're getting somewhere. And we actually are.
And these men in trendy accessories and sharp suits are breaking stereotypes too. They belong to a gentleman's club called Mr. Erbil. And they're adamant about changing the image of Iraq and the Kurdish region in particular. They want to promote locally made clothes and products through the power of social media. But beneath the savvy attire, there is also a political and social message.
We have other aims like supporting women's rights, protecting our environment, and boosting our local businesses. We wanted to show that wearing a suit or a fancy clothes doesn't really make you a man. It's the characters that defines you.
And more women are now beginning to challenge what society expects from them. Seema Saman and her two friends in their 20s say they want to celebrate the people of the Kurdish region. Their social media campaign called Humans of Kurdistan is aimed at inspiring people at home and abroad. Saman feels young people, especially girls, can bring about positive change if they are willing to break the mold.
But when they go out into the streets and talk with people, their minds will get open. They will like, I can do this, so I can become great at things in life.
Many young people here say they want change and are taking matters in their own hands to help make things better.
Government officials say their focus is on defeating ISIL and taking care of the financial crisis. But many young social activists say that lack of support does not stop them from going after their dreams to change the society around them. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera, Erbil.
Up next in sports, Trinidad and Tobago track and field legends called for development in sport, and Michael Phelps gets blasted on Twitter. Stay tuned. Members of Trinidad's 1964 Tokyo Olympics 4x4 men's relay team said they believe more needs to be done for the development of track and field in Trinidad and Tobago so that the country can continue to be an international force in the sport.
In 1964, Edwin Skinner, Kent Bernard, Edwin Roberts, and Wendell Motley created history by announcing Trinidad and Tobago to the athletics world by officially claiming our first medals in athletics at an Olympic Games. Wendell Motley, who won silver in the 400 at the Games, believes we are not as strong as we should be in the sport, and more needs to be done.
Sports success is not instantaneous. It's built on a lifetime of training and the systems we put in place, and Jamaica has done that far more successfully than ourselves, and that provides a consistency to Jamaican performance, and we in Trinidad have to seriously look at that. It's not just building stadiums, it's systems and support that go with it.
One way of solving the problem, according to Edwin Roberts, who won our first ever medal in track and field when he won bronze in the 200 meters at the 1964 Games, is focusing on grassroots development.
There's something lacking in the association and the mentality of some of the officials and the dignitaries who run the whole organization. So we really have to do something about that. And most of everything from the grassroots start from elementary school all the way up into the high school. So we have to start getting into the school system. That's where all our talent is.
A view supported by his teammate, Kent Bernard.
We have to do something with the schools having a track season. We have football season, we have a cricket season. We don't have a track season in the school system. And that is, if you want to look at Jamaica or some of the other islands, that is where the pool of talent is nurtured as such.
But Edwin Skinner believes in order for us to be successful, the needs of our athletes to help them reach the top has to be given priority in more than just lip service.
But what is very important now, we did not build on the success we have had. For instance, now, you know, the team that I coach, we have nowhere to train for the Carifta Games presently. because if the Hazley Crawford Stadium and the ancillary park has been turned into an entertainment center, and it's something we have to work with.
Kent Fuentes, C Sports.
In an interview ahead of the Dubai Desert Classic, Tiger Woods revealed what advice he would give his younger self if he could.
20 years ago, Tiger Woods sparked an era that would change golf forever. What advice would he give himself? CNN's Shane O'Donoghue met with him in an exclusive interview ahead of the Dubai Desert Classic. Woods told O'Donoghue he would tell his younger self to be patient on scheduling. Don't do too much. He would also tell himself to get different hobbies to get away from the game. Have a life balance. The future may be unclear, but Woods insists he is in the game of golf for the long haul. He said, "Golf is not a sprint, it's a marathon."
Olympic great Michael Phelps is being blasted on Twitter after he testified in front of Congress on Tuesday in Washington, D.C. The swimmer told lawmakers that stricter gun testing and anti-doping laws need to be put in place. Here's more.
On Thursday, professional swimmer Michael Phelps received backlash for his recent comments regarding the anti-doping system. Milorad Kavik, who famously lost the 2008 Olympic 100-meter butterfly to Michael Phelps by .01, took to social media to share a letter to Michael Phelps. It read, "Why you're seeking reform now that you're retired and never before supported blood passports is beyond us all, perhaps even convenient."
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. Recapping the top stories, ECCB building named in honor of Sir K. Dwight Venner. A transparent electoral system forms part of government's good governance agenda. And Taiwan makes another donation to the security forces. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Berridge. Goodbye.